Hello and welcome to Colin Bradley Artcast. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
How you doing, Dad?
All the better for seeing you yesterday and the family. That was lovely.
Yeah,
Thoroughly enjoyed ourselves, and what a lovely place you live in. Beautiful. And we went for a little walk in the woods. And I remember saying to you at the time, I do remember because I was there when I was very young, and it brought it all back. And I remember the smells and the the general ambience of the place. And then we saw the beautiful view you've got over the Happy Valley, they call it, don't they? And it was magical, absolutely magical. Anyway,
yeah. We feel very lucky, and it was very lovely to show you it yesterday and to take you around, and for Elowyn to see you both. It was a really lovely day, and gorgeous weather just for seeing that view. You could see
that's
for
right.
miles. It
Oh, it
was
would all the
really
difference.
nice.
Made all the difference when you get sunshine like that, especially late. It was sort of late afternoon, wasn't it, or middle to late afternoon? So you get a lovely light. Lovely. Anyway, it was good.
Very nice, very nice. Have you had a good week though? Otherwise, you working?
I'm working, yes, I've been working. I've done a bit more. This is a long job. As I said to you yesterday, I've already used two SD cards up. That's two cameras, two cards. And now I'm on the next lot, and that's unusual for me. I don't usually run out, but there's a lot of footage. I know you'll be editing it, and it won't get quite as much as that, but it's a long old job. I wouldn't want it to be any other way, and I haven't finished it yet. What people are going to see today is is all of the buildings really are done now. I've now got just to concentrate on the foreground, which, as I've said many times before, that's one of the hardest things you can do because it's the thing you see first, and it kind of put the buildings and the other areas behind as a backdrop. They're not because they're very much a part of the picture, but that's how you view it. And of course, you can get a bit nervous when you get to a situation like that, especially when it's water, which it is, right in the foreground. I've got that to contend with, but I've been there, done that before. I'm not concerned about it, but I'm enjoying it immensely.
Good, good. Okay, well, let's without further ado, let's show what you've been working on. And here is the picture. Should be popping up on everyone's screen now. Here's the update, and I mean, what a difference with all those buildings finished.
Mm.
I'm just trying to see if there was an update from last week, whether we could see.
Well, the last time you didn't have the buildings on the left-hand side; they were all to come.
Yeah, let's just show that one very quickly, just to refresh people. This was last week, so you can see just how much you've been working on. And now let's flash back to the new one. There we go. So yeah, you've added a fair amount in there. So talk to us about what you've been working on.
Well, the obviously those buildings. When you've got a lot of white buildings, and that's what they are. They're basically white. They're all built with the same materials, of course. Sourced locally, I imagine. So it's all going to be similar. But you can now see a difference between the Blue Peter Inn, and I did mention this, I think, last week or the week before when we were talking, that I used the blue greys for that. It's unusual for me to do that. I usually stick to the main colour tone, but that's what it looked like, and that's what it on the photographic reference, and I can only go by that. But you have got a difference, and very often that doesn't work, but in this case it does, because it shows that Blue Peter Inn stands right away now, and it is the focus of the whole picture. And I was very pleased with it. But you've got to be a bit careful. There's no question about that when you're working on tonal values. That's the bluey colours, and then the cool, earthy colours. But it does work very well. But I did make the building on the left-hand side, far left, that little squat building. I did make that in the bluey tones, the cooler tones. There's some. It's a mixture of both, really. I put the 273 in there as well, even though I did keep it on the bluey side, and I kept the windows too. Those windows, or that window rather, and the doorway. I did change that. I did. That was a nondescript colour, so I thought, right, I'm going to put the same colour. So the blue run through there, the blue on the buildings and on the window at the back above the dark wall, and that. So I have a kind of continuity, which I was looking for, and it worked really, really well. But when you've got expanses of white like I've got there, I had to do something with it. As I said last week, I was thinking about putting cracks in, but you can't keep doing that. One's enough, and there wasn't any there. But there, I could have put the drain pipes in. Remember, I was talking about right at the beginning. I don't use drain pipes, and they were ugly, and that would have been ugly in there. But that would have been something that you could have used just to break up the monotony of the tones. But I don't think it needs it. I think it's coming out very well. The only thing I have added, which is not on the original picture, is the little flower basket on the left-hand side above the door to the right of the door. That wasn't there. I put that in. That's my artistic license touch. But you see how important it is to do something like that, to give it that little bit of... and also, while you're in that position, you can see the stairs that run up there. Now, these are all old staircase. It's not something new. So you have to kind of represent that as you see it. And I did then. But what I did do is increase the foliage behind it. Again, this was deliberate, so I made more of the covered up, if you like, some of the building a bit more. But when you do that, you've got to make sure that you get it in keeping, really, with the picture. But one of the nice things you've got with that is the wall between the two sets of foliage. I put a little bit of wall in between those two, which it would have looked out of place if I'd put it all in green. So that breaks it up again. Now, when you come down to the harbour, which is the next thing I'm going to be doing, steps, well, that's similar to the other steps. But what I'm using there is really just the earth colours. That would be, I will start with 270 and then I shall work on the 273, 182, but adding some browns as well. And that will run right through the ladder and the harbour wall and the steps. Once again, that's all got to be harmonious, would be the word. You can't have something different there. It won't work. And then I will drop down to the water then. But that will be done. All being well, you'll see it next week finished.
That feels like the next stage is quite a new colour palette that you're about to reach for. Already with the foliage and things like that, and what we've been watching, what we've been seeing so far in this build up is sort of a lot of the similar colours used, and now it feels like you're reaching to different colours, and the rest of the picture is going to just pop with some really different colour, and already the foliage has really lifted the picture.
And that's exactly what you've got to do. And you've got to make a harbour wall look really attractive. You can't, even though in reality it's not necessarily an attractive. But I'm going to make it more attractive. And then the boat, I'll spend quite a lot of time on that boat because, as I said, it's in the foreground. And do you remember I told you I moved it across? Not very much, but it was by the steps going up, and it would have interfered, I think, with the steps, so I can make a bit more of that. But you can see now why I said at the beginning I had to move that boat. It would have been in your face if you'd stuck it right in the middle there. Whenever you're going into a picture, you've got to go into it. You've got to be able to go from the foreground walk up those steps into the harbour and then go and weave your way up that alley effectively. Now, when you've got something like this, obviously you're following a reference picture, but sometimes you've got to change things slightly to make it look just that little bit more attractive. But it's going to look great
That's
when
fascinating. That's really interesting what you're saying there, because it's almost like you're transporting yourself into this scene.
mm,
And so you're making it easy for the person to visualize what it's like to be there by opening it up and allowing people to see the route in.
mm,
It's weird, isn't it?
exactly right. That's exactly what you do. And it's a balance job. You've got to balance things up and make it as attractive as you can. I mean, from not only from the viewer's point of view and the people that hopefully will have a crack at this picture, but it's from my point of view. I like to feel that I'm there. I like to feel that I've enjoyed the journey, if you like. And I certainly am enjoying that. Even though you think, well, God knows, it must be very boring to do those roofs. Look at them all. But it's not. As long as I've said before, as long as you're enjoying it, as long as you get a great thrill out of being able to get the end product. And I mean, a lot of the time, even though I said I've used a lot of cars and there's a lot of footage been used, you haven't seen the half of it, because a lot of the time I say, well, now I'm just going to carry on, show you little bits. So the majority of it, really, at least the same amount of time I've showed on the video, I've done off camera. So it's a long, long job.
Mm. Do you know, I just want to point out one section that I really like, and I don't know why I like it. Is this section up here?
Yes.
I I don't know if it's because it's really satisfying to sort of see the building behind a building and knowing sort of you've created that dimension that I know, like there's like a gap and then there's a building. I don't know. It's just maybe it's just dimension or if it's perspective that you've created. But it's a really nice section up here. I know that sounds probably very dull, but I don't know what it is about looking at it. It's very satisfying to look at that particular section.
Yes, and I totally agree with you, because I love that bit too. And I spent some time on that. Originally, when I looked at the original picture, it wasn't quite like that. I've improvised a bit there, and but I did like the angles which you're talking about. The angle, I like those angles, and then you've got the beauty of the shadowing, which I also like, the way the shadow falls, and it falls right across the building. The only area that I would tell you that I have changed, and this is applying to shadows, the area under the lamp, the street lamp, right underneath that lamp, that's it, that area there. Now, there was a shadow that ran over the doorway. It ran across and over the doorway. And all you had really on the original picture is a little strip of light to the left-hand side of that doorway. And I thought that this is not showing the doorway up very well. So I kind of changed it a little bit. I squeezed the shadow across, but I followed it through on the build on the pathway. You can see that runs across and it touches and goes up. So these are things you have to think about. But had I not done that, it would have just interfered, if you like, with the general view by not giving me the light and dark aspects.
Again, I suppose it's all part of that opening up the scene for people to be able to be absorbed into it. And if it's in too much darkness, it almost blocks that sort of immersive
Mm,
feel of being into the landscape. If it's too dark, and especially when you have that perspective going right through the picture,
mm.
beyond the scene that you're looking at, if there's too much darkness there, that's not as appealing because it's not opening it out.
That's right.
It's
Many, many, many years ago, when I was working for Tony Blackman, I've mentioned him in my art story. he was the one that really led me here to do what I do here. But I used to work and supply pictures to him. One picture that I did, it was of Castle Combe. You've never seen it. And he sold it anyway in the gallery. And I remember his wife actually said to me at one time, I think it must have been in an exhibition, do you know, I love the way you take the viewer, the person who's looking at the art, into the picture, because I can just want to walk into that. There was a little arch there where in this, it's quite unique in Castle Combe. He said, I just want to walk there and walk round the corner. I feel I can do that. And those words still echo today. So that's something that I felt, oh, how nice. I never thought of that at the time. I just did the picture. And but since then, those words have echoed with me. So every time I do a picture similar to that, or with something like that, I try to make that work. You want to walk up that alley and go and see where it leads. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 Very, very fascinating. So interesting. I suppose that's one of the most interesting aspects to landscape work is you are creating a scene. You know, every kind of picture you do has a different feel. And with this one, it feels like it's a very immersive scene that you just want to step into.
I can't wait to do the water and the harbour and the boat now, because that is going to be, it's going to be spectacular next week. When you show this, you'll show this scene, I'm sure, next week, and then we'll flick to the updated version, the actual finished version. Then you will see quite what I'm talking about. At the moment, it looks a bit top heavy. You know, it's all up above, nothing on below. So what's it sitting on? But when that harbour goes in and the boat goes in, the water goes in, then it will really take off, and you'll go, wow, you really want to visit that. Interesting.
That is so lovely. Yeah, I can't wait to see that. And this has been a really interesting discussion, actually. There wasn't anything else we had this week. It was just purely just to talk about your update on this picture. But I think that we've raised some really interesting points about that. And I think that a lot of the students and members listening to these podcasts, you know, hopefully take all of that on board. And if that's something that they approach, that they decide that they want to take with their landscape work, something they want to aspire to, then you've created that understanding now, I think. And when people watch all of your landscape courses that we have on the site, that's something to bear in mind. You know, do you feel like you want to step into this scene? Is that something that you want to create for your viewers of your work?
Absolutely.
Again, you're paving the way and setting examples and inspiring people to do something similar if they want to. Really good.
Well,
Okay, Dad.
I think it's important, though, just a final word, really. If you're enjoying yourself, which I do, I'm indulging myself in a picture, I'm doing it for me, first and foremost. And that's got to satisfy me. It's no good me saying, oh, well, that's all right, that'll do. Never, ever say that. I would never, ever dream of saying that. I keep at it until it works for me. And when it works for me, I know it's going to work for everybody else as well. It's just another thought that people keep in their head. It takes a little while, and, you know, once you get into artwork, and I'm sure many of our viewers and our members are already getting to the stage now where they're enjoying their work, and they are seeing that as I see it. Wonderful to be able to indulge yourself in this sort of thing as well. Lovely.
Absolutely. Okay, well, we'll be back next week with an updated picture from Dad. Hopefully, maybe the finished picture, but certainly we'll see more. So we hope you found this one interesting. As always, if you have any questions or anything you want us to discuss, then always let us know and we'll bring them up on the next episode. But for now, we will leave it there for this week. So thank you everyone for watching and for listening. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley. Enjoy your week.
Enjoy your week.